Hello guys, and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. I am Ben, and today I am joined by Matt from the Elm Park Royals as the Imps are away at Reading on Good Friday. So Matt, how you doing, mate? You keeping well?
I'm all good. Reveling in somehow this playoff chasing madness that has somehow befallen us this season with everything that's going on.
Yes, I mean obviously that's one of the things, isn't it? Like we've talked about Reading on Stacey West a couple of times this season, and it from the outside looking in, and I think we've spoken previously about this as well. I think it would be fair to use the phrase basket case for some of the stuff that's been going on. And it's one of those where you look at it, and just for the sake of the fans, I really kind of hope, Friday aside, that there's something to cheer about for everybody at the end of the season. So, how has it been being a Reading fan this season? With everything that's been going on, is there anything that you can take away from the off-field stuff and translate it to the on-field stuff and go, okay, well, we're here now. How's it been on the whole?
On the whole, I'll be honest, hideous. It's just the never-ending saga, I think. And I think the saddest thing as well, we're getting excited now at this part of the season, but it's been so hard to. It might sound bad when I say this, but care much about the season because even though with things going on, even though we've had a really good season where we've always been kind of up and in and around the top 10 and flirting with a playoff season, even when Ruben was here before. We had a relatively okay start and kind of picked it up towards December time where we were then in and around the playoffs. But you always had that nagging feeling at the back of your mind, well, it doesn't really matter wherever we are. We've still got De Jong owning us. We're still absolutely Tommy Tuckered if things don't change. The only time when we can really look forward as fans is once he's gone. And so there's always been that in the mid part. Obviously, there was a really hideous part kind of over December and January when we lost Ruben Sellers, we lost certain players, which, some of the deals that were done weren't bad over January particularly. It was a real shame to lose, obviously, Sam Smith, but we got £2 million for him. Normal circumstances, most Reading fans probably look at that and thinking, that's very annoying. He's our main striker, but we got £2 million. We can reinvest it. Obviously, we can't reinvest it because we've been under embargo since, I think, the year 2000, to be honest, at this point. And Tyler Binden, likewise, Tyler Binden was coming into the last 6 months of his contract, and we were able to get about 750k off Nottingham Forest for him, and also had him loaned back for the remainder of the season, which in normal seasons, you'd probably look at that. And again, you think Tyler Binden, very young, very talented player, will go places, if not in the Premier League, definitely at championship level. You probably hope to get more than that for him, but last 6 months of his contract, you don't scowl at it. But then after that, losing Ruben Sellers, losing Tyler Binden, losing Sam Smith, or Tyler Binden obviously getting loaned back, but mostly losing Sam Smith. Noel Hunt, outside of a little blip kind of mid to late January time, has been able to put together this run of 13, 14 games of only one loss in there. We were unbeaten for 10, 11 games. The job that Noel has done with the players that he's got and with the circumstances, people said it about Ruben Sellers last year. I think you can copy and paste it and just turn it up a notch for Noel Hunt this year. Coming in, yes, he was the de facto choice because we couldn't get anyone else really. We had to just promote from internally. But the job that he's been able to do, and the fact that we're even here middle of April, 4 games from the end of the season, saying that we're on 69 points in a very good point or place for playoffs this season. If you'd have told me that 1st of August, knowing that we'd lose Femi Aziz in the summer, we'd lose Ruben Sellers, lose Sam Smith, three of the most important people to our club last year. We'd still be there at the end of the season. Sure, I say it's been excruciating, but this last few months has definitely brought back a bit of pride for myself and in Reading as well as a club to support. Went to Northampton last week for the very first time in, I think, about 5 or 6 years. I actually wore a Reading shirt to a game, which I haven't done for years, which might sound funny and stupid, but that's kind of the levels that it's kind of been pushed to.
Yeah. I mean, it is just a horrible situation. And to kind of branch off a little bit, I think what we've seen from, the EFL is pretty toothless. I can only empathise really with everybody that's associated with Reading from the fans' perspective, because outside looking in, it just seems like an absolute farce, and nobody really wants to kind of grab it with both hands and get both parties bang their heads together and say, look, sort it out, you get out, you come in, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, look, I say at least there's something there that you can sort of hang your hat on and say we've got something to believe in this season. Yeah. So on that subject, like you say, you've only lost one in the past, was it 10, 12 or so? It's been a pretty impressive run, which sees you in 6th at the moment, like you say, just off that 70-point mark. What did anything necessarily change? I mean, obviously Sellers leaving was a big thing. Was there almost like a mentality shift from the players? Did you see, or as the style changed, as the method of attacking the games changed? What's been the catalyst for this all to come together to put you guys in 6th at the moment?
I think one thing, obviously, Noel Hunt had a big job, obviously emulating Ruben Sellers. He actually came in. We were playing very attractive football, not in the attractive sense of possession football and your Pep Guardiola stuff, but an attractive sense to Reading FC fans, playing on the transition, playing counter-attacking, getting the ball up quickly, front foot pressing, everything you want to see really from a hard-working team. And that's kind of when you think of club styles and kind of the way that each club, I think, always has a style that fans like to watch. Swansea, is always possession based. For example, looking at Division Up, Reading's always been that kind of on the front foot, pressing, counter-attacking football, bit of grit, bit of determination, knuckle in kind of thing. And I think what Hunt has been able to do is kind of switch that in, or take what Sellers has done, but just be a bit more reserved. We'd often go away to teams and we'd play the same sort of football. We'd still play very open. And so in a lot of games, you'd look at it and you think, oh, God, we're actually lucky to come away with a point there, or we're lucky to win that. Or, God, I can see why we've lost 3-0, there, for example. One thing that Hunt has been able to do is just make us a much more gritty team, tough to beat. Yes, it's sometimes a bit more of a tough watch for fans. They might think, oh, God, we're not as attacking, but at the end of the day, we've lost our one, proper recognised striker that we had in Sam Smith, and playing with a team of, outside of the midfield that has a bit of experience with Lewis Wing and Harvey Nibbs and the like, is just a team of young kids, really. You look at the back line, Tyler Binden, 20 years old, Amadou Mbengue, I think 22, and he's one of the most experienced. Andre Garcia has been playing left back a lot. He's 17. Abrifa, I think, is 20. So there's so many young players that have been utilised, especially at the back and up front. So the results Hunt has actually been able to get out of these players by just making us harder to beat, slightly less attacking. But when you look at the goals against kind of column, last year, I think we conceded, it was 66 goals, 67 goals. This year, Hunt has brought that down. I think we're at 51 at the moment. And over the last 13 games, I think we conceded 10. So we've become a much harder to score against team. And when you're doing that, yes, it's very kind of Brian McDermott when you say, but if you're at 0-0, you're always in the game. You only need that one bit of quality to get that 1-0, to get that 2-0 or whatever it might be. So it's just making us much harder and tougher to beat. but still pressing. We still do that quite a lot. Play on the counter attack, but maybe just a little bit more reserved.
Okay. So I mean, look, like you say, it's that. Last time we played, you were obviously on a bit of a slide. I think we spoke off air, and it was one of those where it was like, it was just a bad time all round, essentially, in the Reading camp. What can Imps fans that are going or watching the game on Friday, what can we expect to see from Reading compared to that last game? I mean, it sounds like it's almost a complete 180 from what was there. And is there anybody that has been brought up through the ranks, or anybody that's come in that obviously the number of people that are coming in probably won't be too high given the embargo situation, but anybody that's relatively new to the picture that has impressed since that time? Because obviously, like you say, you lost a couple of players in the January window.
Players coming in, no one really. I think the squad is so paper thin. We've pretty much had the exact same squad, pretty much for the entirety of the season. One player that has come on just leaps and bounds kind of since Hunt has come in, really. And he's spoken about it in articles that he's done with the Athletic, and that has been Charlie Savage. He's been just a player reborn, pretty much. He's seemingly, reading some of the articles that he's done, I think he was praising of Sellers, but I think he was a very frustrated figure. I think moving from Manchester United to Reading was a bit of a culture shock with the situation that we've been in. Moving from relative safety to somewhere where you don't know if you're getting your wages at the end of the month. Moving 3 hours away from, or 3.5 hours away from home, where you've always lived your entire life, is a big change. And then on the pitch, he'd always be subbed off, or he'd be subbed on. He would never finish 90 minutes. But under Noel Hunt, he's seemingly given him just so much confidence and freedom to kind of go forwards and find himself in pockets of space, and his technical ability as well. I mean, there was a pass that he pulled off at Northampton, where he was on the edge of our 16-yard box on the left. We're all looking to the left because we had Kelvin running in front, and I think it was Harvey Nibbs as well. But he was able to pick out Chem Campbell on the complete other side of the pitch. It was about a 50, 60-yard, just zipped loop pass, and I just looked at that and just thought, what? Yeah, it's just one of those passes which you just take a step back, you think, what have I just seen? And it just gets you off your feet and that. And I mean, he's had the perfect kind of, I guess, tutor next to him, in Lewis Wing. Probably one of the real better midfielders in League One. But since Hunt has come in, he's just been a completely different player, and probably in the running now for player of the season. He's popping up with goals. He's got 5 goals. I think he's got 7 assists as well for us this season. And he's been a real driving force, because I think when I talk about tenacious players, well, you think of a Savage and you think a bit of a wanker, to be honest. He's always going to get in. He's going to do a bit of the nitty gritty. He's going to try
chip off the old block, isn't he?
Exactly. He's sometimes a bit of a terrier, and goes in a bit too hard. But what can you expect when you've got Savage on your back and a number 8 as well, just like his dad? But he's become a real fan favorite. So I think if I was to look at one thing and one player that's really turned a corner from then, I'd be looking at Savage, because he has been fantastic in that midfield. And now Ben Elliott, he was in that midfield back then. Unfortunately, he's still out. I think he's been out for about 4 months with an injury. So he kind of came in and has had to play 90 minutes. But my God, you talk of taking your opportunity and stepping up. He's kind of almost de facto, starter in that midfield now.
Oh, well, there we go. I mean, yeah, two to clearly look out for on Friday. I mean, another 2, you've mentioned them quite a bit already. We've got Lewis Wing and Harvey Nibbs, 20 goals between them this season. 2 players that, if you had to pick them, you'd probably say, oh, they are the standouts. Are they essentially the linchpins of the Reading side?
Yeah, I think when we look at our attack, kind of without Sam Smith, it's very blunt is harsh because they're doing the best they can, but we've
Mhm.
got Jaden Wareham, who's been playing up front a lot of the time. He came from the Chelsea academy a couple of years ago when he was out of contract. He's a bit like a Shane Long, but it just doesn't get many goals. Kelvin Bishman has been struggling. He's very hot and cold on his day. Fantastic, can take on a player and everything, but struggles. When I look at good points of our team, it's just that midfield three. Lewis Wing, Harvey Nibbs, and Savage. Saying that though, in defence, players to look out for. Tyler Binden, mentioned, obviously got bought by Nottingham Forest in January. 20 years old. He's going to be a fantastic player, if not in the Premier League, in the Championship. Very calm on the ball, can pick out a really good pass.
Has he been loaned back then for now?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we were able to get a loan back for the last 6 months, which I guess is a saving grace. And then when you think of the money you've got for him, you think actually that's not too bad business. Because otherwise, if we'd have kept him for that time, we'd have lost him for nothing. So yeah, he's been fantastic, and I mean his partner in crime, Amadou Mbengue. When you talk about players that have become cult heroes, kind of in this period, Amadou Mbengue kind of epitomizes that. He's just a bundle of energy and craziness. If you think of what sort of crazy, well, last summer he was pictured walking some lions in a park. I think it's just utter crazy, but he will always do it seemingly once in a game. He'll just put in one of these Sol Campbell-esque sliding tackles, or he'll just cover over and just boot the ball 100 meters away, which fans just love. But the thing that really gives him that edge is just his pace. His pace as a defender, he's rapid as anything. Very undefender-like with his physique. He's about 5'10", 5'11", I think. But that gives him his pace that he can just cover. And whenever Tyler, young players or even the fullbacks kind of do something where you think, oh God, you shouldn't have done that, he can often come across and cover. So he's just been, unbelievably crucial, in this kind of defensive reimagining, really, of Reading under Noel Hunt.
Well, there we go. So as we look ahead to the game, I should say, we will do what we normally do on the Stacey West, and we will throw across to you, Matt, for a prediction. I know we've just recorded your preview as well, so I'm going to see if you're going to be bold enough to stick with your prediction on the Stacey West as well.
Predictions can always come back to sting you, can't they? After, but I mean, every Reading fan, I think, would just be praying for a win, because we're three points ahead of seventh place. We know how quickly, obviously, that can turn around. But yeah, a win would be so big in our chase for playoffs. And I think if this team was able to get there, it would just be one of the most unbelievable achievements just to reach the playoffs. I think I've got to back them. I think I'd be wrong to not back them from here to the end of the season. I did go 3-1 on our podcast. I think I've got to stick with it. I've got to be positive. I've got to cross everything that I can and hope that I've not jinxed it and we don't finish up like a dreadful 1-0 or like worse 2 or 3-0 or something.
That's all right. You've got to stick with it. I like it. You're sticking with your convictions. It's good to see. I mean, I will stick with mine as well. I believe I'm with 2-2 on the podcast. I think on your podcast, I think it's going to be a hard fought game. Obviously, the Imps nothing to play for in terms of league position or playoffs or relegation, but hopefully plenty of players looking to stake a claim for next season. And I think probably reeling from a bit of a rocket after the game from Michael Skubala, given the comments of his post-match interview. So, well, that's going to do us for the preview. Thank you for joining us, Matt. Much appreciated. If you want, 20 or so seconds, just the floor is yours. You promote yourself. Tell us where we can find you and what you're all about.
EPR on Twitter, Elm Park Royals podcast. If you want some of your Reading FC content for some reasons unknown to people in Lincolnshire, come over to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever. We do podcasts, social media posts. Don't really do too many articles, but previews, post matches, and player and kind of staff podcasts. So just for all your Reading FC fix, really come over to the site.
Super stuff. Well, there we go, lads. Thank you very, very much. We will see you probably sometime very soon. We've got the weekly podcast this week, and then obviously there will be another preview ahead of the Bolton game on Easter Monday. So until next time, as always, up the Imps.
Lincoln City are the team, the readiest is their name. Sinsel Bank is their home ground and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you lads, support them all the way.